Is it any better now? There we go. Thanks for pointing that out, Ideal. I totally forgot to fire up my audio side. Whoopsie. I usually get that going as I'm setting up. Yeah, you can actually hear what I'm saying. So anyways, how you doing? Went through a whole bit. It's been a hell of a week, like I tried to say earlier, but obviously nobody heard me. I ended up going into work Monday, and I went out to lunch and heard some noise out of my van. Went and out of the back, went and checked that out, and the spring perches. Well, it says spring perches. It's not what they are. The mounts that hold the axle to the leaf springs, both sides were rusted out and they were bent upward at an angle. So the only thing really holding my axle in was a prayer and the weight of the van. So I got really lucky because it's been like that for a while, obviously. I never really noticed. I've heard some noises out of the rear end before, but yeah, at any point that axle I could have hit a bump. That axle could have went right out the rear end of my vehicle wherever I was at, going however fast I was going. So yeah, I got real fortunate, blessed is how I would prefer to look at it, because I should have had bigger issues with that. So thankfully that wasn't an issue. But I spent most of my week besides working on that, arranging rides to and from work. So yeah, it was a full hectic week for me. Beat the hell out of myself. I realized at 59 years old, I'm not 39 anymore. Just the one side, it took me almost an hour to crank those damn bolts out. They were rusty, so I had fight against a rusty bolt, trying to get them off. But yeah, I had to get new purchase or new it's funny, they're called a shock spring mount, something like that. I don't quite remember off the top of my head, but they really have nothing to do with the shocks. They just mount to the same mount that the shock mounts to, but it's what holds the axle to the leaf spring. So I still got to make an adjustment. I'm about 1/8 of an inch off on my passenger side from being square, so I do have to tweak it a little bit, but at least my van's mobile and I'm not worried about losing my rear axle. So that was my week. Work, doing that stuff after work, during work, did a few things there and there. But yeah, been a busy week, kind of crazy. Took yesterday off, but I got it done Thursday after work. Was able to finish it up. But yeah, what a week. A lot of stuff going on at work too. So anyways, I've been doing a little bit of stuff to this here. I did a few things over the week that didn't include video, but it wasn't nothing major. Kind of tidied up the wiring. I took and got it all bundled up in here. The receivers up here, tied it up right up in the front of this pack. And then all my other wires are here. I got my lighting unit right here. It's going to sit on the deck. I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape, servo tape there. Hold that in place. But I want to make sure the door and the battery unit fits, because with my driver in here, as you can see, I got to have the battery on this side. So I've got it set up, but I want to make sure the door goes in there before I figure out exactly where I'm going to put that in there and try to position it better. I've got the tail for the ESC here with the programmer on it yet, because I still got to program the ESC, and then I can swing that around, plug it into the channel 2 to get it into position. My gun for my guy. And for anybody that knows or maybe aware, let me see how that, yeah, okay, so I do got to spin it around 180 so you can get a little bit more straight up look. But you can see who it is, Rowdy Roddy Piper, but it's the John Nada character from the movie They Live, John Carpenter's movie They Live, which seems kind of apropos right about now. Yeah, it could have been bad. It could have been nasty. I don't like to think about it, but you almost got to. I mean, that morning on the way into work, I wasn't letting no grass grow underneath the van. It's pretty decent road, but yeah, like I said, I've been hearing a little bit of noise here and there out of the rear end for couple weeks, couple months maybe. Just every once in a while, a clunk here and there, or whatever. And I checked the drive shaft, everything there seemed to be good. I thought maybe the differential was having an issue. I'm thinking, oh shit, that's not good. But it just didn't seem like it in any other times. Once a great while, a clunking sound and stuff. Nothing ever really felt like it was shifting or swaying or loose as far as that goes. Corners always seem to be good. But yeah, it was backed out enough that a good bump, if it would have thrown the ass end up in the air, that axle could have just, slipped right on out and kept going down, one way down the road, and me and the van and the ass end dragging on the gas tank could have been rolling down the other side. So yeah, we got lucky. Fortunate, blessed, as I say, because that could have been very bad for me and anybody else around me when the axle decided to do what it did, going where it decided to go. So yeah, thank you, we got that. Amen. So yeah, this thing's been pretty good. I got things kind of set up, like I said. So I installed the winch. Didn't put that on video, but it's just screwing it down, getting it put in place. I haven't drilled any hole in the bumper. What I did is I'm running it underneath. I'm going to fab up a little piece of metal tubing to kind of come through underneath and get it mounted up in here and turn a little bit and to a little flanged mouth right here, so I can turn around and run the cord through that, and so it's just not dragging on the side. Get a little bit better positioning to go straight out the front. And then I'm just running underneath the bumper and screwed the fair lead mount to the bumper, and it's actually, as you can see here, running up underneath the bumper a little bit. So it is going to wear on that bumper. It's plastic, but if I could do the tube and put the tube in the right place, I can run that tube right up to underneath the bumper, so it's just coming right out of the front of the tube and out through the fair lead right in the center. So that's going to be a little mount there. And then interior, right now I simply just cut a piece of foam and slip that in place for a quote-unquote temporary seat. I may end up kind of leaving it because it kind of fits and looks all right for the moment. And got John in his place so he could drive. And then I got to do the interior. I'm going to do some metalwork interior because this is going to be a single driver, because I'm going to have the battery here on the passenger side, and all the wiring and everything else. I'm going to either fab up the panels for here in the front, on the front sides, kind of hiding all this stuff, including his legs to a point, and wiring. So I'll fab up some paneling to go in there, or I'll buy the H-Tech items. H-Tech has 3D printed panels that will fit in there really nicely. I may go with those because they're pretty clean looking. And then I may end up, making something. I picked up, got in my cart some, scale diamond plate. So this side's basically, I'm going to make a diamond plate box just coming up underneath here, to where the passenger side would be down to it, and then maybe fab another piece up over here that kind of covers the back side and actually make a tunnel, a ram tunnel out of that. I got some tin I might use for the bottom side and just use the diamond plate up here so it looks a little bit more, nice, and the ram tunnel is it looks a little bit more like it's out of aluminum. Thank you. Got some thoughts. I put some ideas into it. I mean, it's not really going to be centered around anything They Live from the movie, except for just John Nada being the driver. But other than that, it's coming along pretty decently. Like I said, I've got an idea how I want it to look when I'm done. So yeah, I should be able to get these front panels on and make sure everything's in place, put the doors together, get those on, so everything, get the hood on. As you can see, obviously I've got a small battery right here. This is the 3S pack that I bought actually for a little UMX1 that I haven't even flown yet. But it's a little 3S 300 mAh pack, and I'm going to use that to power the lights. In my last vid, I've talked about it. I don't think I did it on vid, but I did the soldering up. So the battery will power, will plug into the light system. It immediately is hit a solder together splitter, which turns and goes and powers the headlights through the Q series power bank module that they give you to make sure you're only getting a 3S, which I will be running 4S on the unit, but this is a 3S pack that'll be powering the batteries off, or the lights off of its own stuff anyways. And then I'll probably just have to put an on-off switch in there somewhere so I don't have to try to plug it in when I want to do it. Because otherwise, when I do plug it in, the headlights are going to always be on. I guess that wouldn't be bad whenever I'm running it. But I'd always have to take the hood off and unplug it. So I might not leave the battery there. Although it fits great, I'll probably end up sticking it down here where it's easier to access. But if I had an option of putting it there, that's not a bad place if you can get to it and charge it up, but without taking the hood off all the time, that probably won't be very easy. So it's likely going to end up over here, but I got to double check door size, clearance. I'm hoping to run the light module, like I said, down here on the passenger floor panel. This whole passenger side, like I said, will be blocked over with some scale diamond plate boxed out, so it's single-seater. And then I'll build the dash from there and add steering wheel. I actually have a Yaw Racing moving steering wheel assembly. I think it was Yaw Racing that made it. So I'm going to try to work that into here. I've got some room up here. I shouldn't have a problem mounting that up in there until I get the steering wheel that would move with the steer or the wheels, when I'm steering it. Get John's, hand arm on it. He's kind of stiff, so I might have to do a little bit of body work to him to free up his elbow and shoulder. So on the steering wheel, it's moves a lot easier. So got some ideas of where I want to go with the interior, but it's going to take a little bit to get there. But first of all, I got to get everything in place and make sure everything fits. Say I want to look at getting stuff. I got the faux diamond in some mesh actually in my Cardon A-main. I still have to probably hit the buy it now button on. I may look at Amazon and see what's available on that stuff. But there's a couple other things I do want to get. Oh, I guess lastly, I really didn't go over this too well. Well, I did when I did the install, but you can see where I put the dig servo down here. And I got a longer bolt in there I'm going to have to swap out, I see, because that's a bit too damn long. Either that or cut it off just so it ain't dragging anything at any point, because that could get in there somewhat, but it shouldn't. But at any point I just make, because I'm using the Holmes mini servo down here. Let me see if you can see it here. I cut it into the plastic plate, and I took the other plastic plate, the ESC plate, or extra plate, off the front because it was interfering with the seat area. So anyways, this thing is getting very close, but I'm at the next step here, which is actually front fenders. So I'm ready to install those. So we'll get them out here. And it's just, what are they, M3s by 8s on all of them? M3 by 8? No, M3 by 6. So I got 8s in the front, 6s in the door panels. So let me see. Those are 2x7s, M3 by 6. 2.5 by 10s. 2x7s. There we go, and 3x8s. Yep, I'm scaling out almost everything. There's a couple bolts I won't. I'll leave them, you know, stock button heads, like these two in the front, holding the ram on, because those are gonna be really hard to get out because they're kind of tucked down inside. If I ever have a problem with them, or so if I ever get rid of it, whoever else has a problem with it. So I'm going to leave those stock, because at least there you can, if it strips out with the Allen, you'll be able to put a Torx bit in there and still get those bolts out, because I don't Loctite those. You just have to go through every once in a while and screw them back down. So, M3x8s in the front. Go ahead and get two of you. Doo, doo, doo. You in here? Okay. Uno. Wow, really? That was interesting. That thing is about to stand up on end if I would have left it going. All right. Okay, now a couple 60s for each side. See, this stuff will end up going real quick here. This final assembly stuff. Okay. The only thing I don't know for sure, but these shouldn't stick out any farther than a button head does, as far as sticking out of the fender area any. Okay. All right. Front fenders are on. Gives it a nicer, almost complete look, obviously. Undo bag G1, I believe this is now. No, this is still all bag G. All bag G stuff. Now it's time for the front, and those are M3x12s. Okay. I guess G1 is assembling the door pins. little bit of tweaking here. These back end place a little better scale position, sequence position by length, I should say. Let's back in there. Okay, let's see, and 3x6s, 3x16 can go in next, and 2x7, 2x7, and 3x8, and 3x6. Okay, all you in there. These are M2 and M2.5s. Now, let me see. Where are my other? I should have a couple more. Definitely should have M3x12s here. And 3x12s. For these, first I want to do is double check, does it fit? It would fit in there with that battery, but I don't want it really in there. I'm going to do I take it out because I think I want that somewhere else where it's less out of the way. Okay, now locks right in there. Before I go farther, we're going to pre-thread some holes here. thread in well without the I think I can put 10s in this. They don't need to be 12s. I don't know why it's got 12s in there way too long. 10s will be plenty long enough. This stuff's only 1.5 millimeters thick, maybe 2 at max. Eighths will probably be long enough, quite literally. Put this in the rest, and we're going to get in pre-thread most of the way, make sure it's clean and easy and smooth. That goes pretty good. I think we'll be just fine. Okay, a little adjustment here. I can see why we maybe have 12s down there. This ain't quite sitting right, so I need to tweak things a smidge. Let's see why that's a little bit. definitely see a reason for 12s up front. Although the more I'm looking at it, the more I think I'm going to run button head in those holes. Just because, again, deep down, can't get to them. I don't want to have a problem with these, at least not down there. Okay, yep. These gots to go, and I have to use buttons here. Can't use the 8s. A little too tall up there. They're interfering with the hood just a smidge. And they're hidden anyway. So okay, 2 M3x8s. actually come back. So no, that's right. That's right. Okay. She's right. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Loosen it up a little bit. Okay, do adjusting here again. Just a little pull outward. Alright, I gotta take this call, so I'm gonna have to mute up. buddy of mine. Wanted to make sure I was going to be around before he swung by. A couple hours from now. Pick these up, get these back in. So, well, actually, I may as well leave them out because I may need them for these side panels because I don't know if I'm going to have the clearance on those. May or may not. The more I'm looking at it, the more I don't. So I'm sitting here looking at this right now and going, those are not going to work. You can see the heads are sticking out too far already. Two, three. Where's the other one? Where's the matte mix? Alright, these gotta come off. I didn't know if they'd work, but yeah, here they're not going to work. Not going to work. Yeah, those heads are sticking out too far. These two off. That takes care of that. Hood looks a lot better now. A little tedious work getting her all squared in straight and nice. Now it's time for these doors. These are the 2.5s, and I'll just use obviously the non-scale hardware on these ones. Make sure there's all clearance everywhere. Oh, these are 10s. Yeah, those were 10s. You back in here. Back in here. right. Put you over here out the way. Now, let's go ahead and open this baby up. Got her somewhere open here, I guess. Okay, so these go with this side. These do have countersunks, okay. So those are 2.5 by 6ers. Four. Eight. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. Okay. Nice and tight. And now, 1, and a 2. Passenger. It's going to be this one. Okay. Okay. Page 32 done. Pop these out. One doesn't matter. Get them both out because they're just going to slide in from the top like everybody else has been doing. Like so. As opposed to coming up from the bottom of the clip. Seems to work a lot nicer. Push a little bit of stuff out of the way. Just wires on the bottom so they can actually move. They actually will move a lot. Push a little bit of stuff up there. Look at that. Up out of the way for the moment like that. better. Don't seem to be hitting it. All right. That's that. Said that part's the easy assembly. I already got the wheels done on page 34. That's all that was, is clipping those in there. Of course, it's got a little, what is it got, putting on the box on the one side? No. Well, yeah, it does, but I don't know if I'm going to use that box. Actually, I'm not on this side because this side's got my driver. So the big question now, let me pop this up. Here is my 4S battery. If I mount this like this, essentially like that. Oh, I see. It's got coarse threads for those. Well, that's alright. I'll keep the coarse threads in case I need them for later. Those could always come in handy if I have to. If they strip out, I'll put a coarse thread in there. Because I used machine bolts in that plastic, and they gave you actually coarse threads in there. And I didn't recognize that. So, no biggie. Okay. This is, of course, a 4S pack, not 3S. I gotta start snapping some pictures too. Did it again. Wrapped right up backwards. Push it forward a little bit in there. Now, you can move because you'll be out of the way. Move because you'll be out of the way. You'll be actually plugged into the other side, but for now, just up out of the way. This is going to be the moment of truth here. Can I leave that there out of the way and still get my battery in there? Or does my light bar have to move? inch in the way. Okay. So that cannot go there. Glad I didn't glue it down beforehand. That's going to be tucked up front a bit more. And when I do my metal box here, I'm going to have to be able to still hitting stuff. I have to move this stuff up front here. I didn't really look at that. Could be it. Pop this out and take a look again. Yeah, that roof does kind of set it all off. Let me put these back in here. Might have to rearrange the way these things go. Okay, so yeah, it must have been those things. So, keep those out of the top area. Flipping through from the bottom and see how that works. Okay, so how do I want to place this pack? Let's go in that way. Let's come back up underneath here. Figure out that pack orientation. I can tuck that up where I was thinking I might be able to. Actually, let me see if I can get it up underneath there maybe. If that'll tuck up underneath there like that. So if that's that way, I put the pack in like that. Or like this. If I stretch it out, it'll be better. Because if I can hide that up there like that, I might be able to work it with a little switch. Or actually leave that just above the diamond plate part so I can get to the switch. That could work out. So let me try it like this. If I do that, Okay. There we go. That's doable. Now, can that sit up there? I can move that back so the battery can come back. Make more room up there. Right there, that can fit right there, and that can all be hidden. There we go. Battery loaded, just not plugged in. All right. And that is the last of the destruction manual, so I don't have anything more in that to get to. This box is now officially empty for all the body panels. That in there, close it up, that'll keep it flat. This is the sticker sheet, which I don't think I'm gonna. I'll probably steal some of the, other stickers, but I'm not gonna use a lot of it. But I'll use some. Now in here, I'll put those in there. And those in there. That's the guys, the extra back and the extra roof. The NOS tank, the extra back, I don't need those. That can go in there. Yep, that's that. So those spare parts can stay in that box. You in there. You right there. Deal. Got both boxes to fit in there. Put up my extra bolts now that I don't need them. So yeah, I had to shift things around a little bit. Now, as you can see here, or kind of see here, there's a big old mess of wires right there. That's why I want to get these panels. The H-Tex looks pretty nice, but I think I'm going to try to fab something up out of either diamond plate or out of some, mesh, scale mesh. I think that'll look just as good. I'll spray paint them, flat black. And they'll look nice and clean. Just getting everything bent properly is going to be the trick, but it shouldn't be too bad. Of course, I'll have to remove the whole cage to do that. Do a slight disassembly to get that done, at which time I'll also work on the box here to cover up the passenger area, to cover up all that wiring from the top and the inside. Get all that ugliness hidden away. And then turn around and do a few other things. And then, get the interior built, dash and all that stuff. That'll be coming later. Put the rest of these in there. Get this all cleaned up. Yeah, I'm quite happy to finally have it where it's at, even though it should have been there months ago. Got this like the end of April, beginning of May. It took all of the 3 months of the initial order that they put out, 90 days. It took me about maybe 110 days, give or take. A couple there before I actually got it. Like I said, the orange is one of the last ones. I'm number 190 of the original initial order. And then I see like 189, 188, 192. They're all variations of, a lot of orange in them. So that was the trading factor there. Is orange was one of the last. That's what we get for picking Josh's favorite color. They made Josh wait, which means they made us all wait. The bastages. Just kidding. I'm happy with it. I am very happy with it. Over and take a look at this side. Yeah, she turned out quite good. These wheels, I think, look really good on there. The Baja Claws, a little aggressive, a little brutal, a little mean. So other than now tweaking, I redid the shocks the other days. That was something else I did before I off cameras. Got the shock rebuild kits with the upgraded shock parts from Vanquish. Thank you, Fam. I believe it was Fam that sent them out, Michael. So I got those in last week, beginning or the end of the week before. So I rebuilt the shocks last week. Put 50 weight in the back, 60 weight up front, and then added heavier duty springs to the front. The Vanquish blue, I believe they're a blue, might be a purple, but it looks blue to me. Yeah, blue. Some people might call it violet, royal purple, but it looks pretty much blue. So you got the blue, the red, and I believe they're yellow, either light springs. So I put the blues on the heavy because it was sagging. I had the stock, comes with stock reds. I had them adjusted all the way down. It was still kind of real too soft and, almost tubbing out. So I put the blues on there, and they are a lot better. I may actually be able to uncollar them down to damn near nothing and leave it pretty good. So they're pretty good. And back's a little slower on the back side and on these. But they still got the red shocks or red spring, the stock red on the back. So that should work out pretty good. But yeah, she looks good. Say number 190, kind of hard to see. All washed out. Still not the easiest to see. It's not quite cleared out. So, anyways, let me see if that makes it better. These cameras are weird. They're all focused on flesh color. But number 190 is assembled as far as the manual spec. Now it's time to get into the rest of the scale stuff and in personal details. As you see, I've left off some of the back scale stuff. I haven't put the fuel cell in. Not sure what I want to do. I think I might have the Knights 3D Customs front engine mount. See, you got a lot of people putting the engine in the back. I get it. Lots of room. But you got a transmission that indicates the motor's up front. And it seems antilogical to have a setup here with the transmission here in the middle and a tunnel ram, but yet then have a motor in back. So I don't know what kind of weird redneck engineering people are thinking they got going on, but it looks great. But when you think about it, it's not scale at all, because you're not going to have a rear mounted motor with a regular transmission pointing forward. There's a lot of different work that has to be done, and that wouldn't even relate over. So yeah, I can't do that. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of weird. So I'm gonna look at doing something in the front. So I got that spot for the battery pack, which would be nice, but I'm not gonna go ahead and use that there. I'm gonna leave that and probably put it over on the pack side here somewhere. I might be able to run it back here. There's plenty of room to have it tucked up in there. I got just enough room in front of that battery pack. Something I got to look at. Oh yeah, got to double check. If you can see, it's very hard to see. Hard for me and twice as hard for you. But just the clearance of the shift rod there in comparison to the battery pack for the dig. There's 1/4 inch clearance there. The wire is actually kind of hitting on the rod for the rear light, so I will have to reroute that probably across the top underneath the metal area there. So if I did that, get that up out of my way so it's not tangled up anywhere and I don't have a problem with it. So yeah, there's a few little things I'm going to have to tweak here and there. Adjust. So if that's going there, then yeah, this can run right up here. And that would be a good place for it. Alright, potential spam. Let's see who we can screw with. Lox Morgue, stab him, we'll slab him.
Hi, this is Mary, senior underwriter with the lending qualifications. I've been trying to reach you the past few days, and I see your loan file is nearly approved for up to $64,000 with either a 60-month term at about $1,217 a month or a 36-month option if you prefer. If you've changed your mind, that's fine. Your request can be withdrawn, and you're welcome to reapply later. But if you still need funding, we just need to confirm a couple of quick items, and then we can send the docs right over. Press 2 now to connect with me or the underwriting, or call back at 855-909-3850. To opt out, press 7.
So I get to sue you because you're telling me who exactly you are and who I get to sue for a robocall. Excellent, thank you. I appreciate that. Because you're clearly not Mary. Mm-hmm. I should. Got that number on my messages, so I should get a hold of a lawyer and call him, because robocalls are still illegal in the United States. And you can sue these people in $8,000 to $10,000, $4,000, $2,000, $20,000, because they're not supposed to be using robocalls or even AI. Because AI would be robo. Computer robo, but still robo. Yeah, she looks good. So yeah, I've still got some things I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. I might put more of a scale unit than the plastic one, but I don't want to get too heavy, so I may just do up the plastic one like I did on the optic and do it up that way. So yeah, she's looking pretty good. She's pretty ready. Now at this point, all I gotta do is turn around and take and program my ESC, get that programmed out good, and then turn around, set all my radio up, bind to my receiver, set all the radio up. I got it in freewheel right now on the back end. That's why it's rolling like that. Dig is set to centered at the moment. So yeah, I got to do the electronic setup, essentially get all my servos, EPA set up, everything done. I should be good centered there because I centered the servo before I hooked everything up, but I'll double check that as I fire everything up, make sure everything's good, get all my endpoint set, adjustments on the ESC, which I really shouldn't have to do anything on the ESC. It should pretty much be plug and play. I think one thing I do want to do is there was a company a couple years ago making accessory items that were also power on off, so you could wire it in, and it was like, say you had a propane tank, you could take the top of the propane tank off and it would cut power, or if you'd wire it in. And I'm thinking about doing that because this thing has no on off switch as far as the ESC motor combo, so I could wire that into the unit, into the setup here, plug into it, and then when I want to power off, just pull that out and unplug my lights. I did pick up the optic kit, which the controller is just on and off. There's no control to it. It's just basically an on and off distribution block, which is fine. So the way it's set up right now is I power it up, plug my little battery into the light power box, and my headlights come on and my tail light will come on through the unit. Now, I literally can probably take that out of the way and get rid of it because I'm powering this all off 3S, and they're all 3S light systems. But I'll probably still leave the light distribution box just so I can have it able to turn on and off. I still, right now, like I said, I've got it set up so my headlights are powered separately, but I think I can wire them up and wire them right into the headlight output on the unit, which is 3-volt or 3S capable, with a high voltage, power these Q lights. But I was trying, I wasn't getting anything when I first tried them. I temporarily wired them up to a plug, plugged it in, and I couldn't, they'd blink on and blink off right away. So I'm not sure what's up, but I didn't seem to get the right power for these Q3 lights, so I just wired them direct. So anyways, from there we are pretty much set to go. Let's see, I don't know why these do that. They pinch a little bit as they're just tightening up into that kind of funky spot. Don't quite get it, but yeah, they gotta get just in that little angle there before the bolt goes in. So it must be little clearance spot maybe. They might have to adjust. Of course, the shotgun will ride. Shotgun. Once I get the plate on here, I may put the shotgun here on the diamond plate, so it's sitting there like that. Actually, like that, so we can just grab it. But for now, shotgun sits up here, rides right nice right there. Like it, that's the kind of prominent right there too. All out of bubblegum. So alright, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this one down. She's been a $1.45, hour 45 minutes here, detailing these last little build stuff out and getting everything good to go. Now, like I said, it's time to start, powering up, and I gotta get some food, and then I gotta go out while it's daylight and decent out and get some things done outside. My buddy's gonna be here about an hour and a half here, and we're gonna bullshit for a while. So get all this wrapped up, and I'll probably come on a little bit later after everything's done, and this evening or late afternoon, and we'll turn around and get back into it a little bit and try to finish up what little bit we got to finish up at the moment, and we'll go from there. So let me pump you back there like you should be, move you forward like you should be. Let me see here, I'm trying to get in there and squared away. That's a little square. But anyways, yeah. John says, hey man, obey. Alright, done playing with the doll. We will talk at you guys a little bit later. Thanks for hanging out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and hit that share button, because as we get going here, like I said, now the essential manual build is done, it's time to start getting into some of that detail work that I want to do. Good, just a rough mark, and start getting into the interior, which I gotta order some things. That's going to be a week or so before it gets in, so most likely I'll try to get things ready, and if I get things done good enough, maybe I'll be able to go take a test run tomorrow, see how things happen. But anyways, we'll talk to you guys probably later on this evening. Hope everybody has a good afternoon. We will talk to you later.